Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my program again, The Key to Diversifications, Episode 7. Okay, my name is Mandy Chen, Head of IQI International Sales. Just a little bit background of myself. I've involved in international marketing for more than 7 years, and myself as an investor, I've invested a few countries for the past few years. This program is designed for those who keen to explore in international properties, or they want to diversify your investment portfolio through investing abroad. And this is actually a benefit for you because if you do not know how, we are here to provide some of the tips and the fundamental guidelines and criteria for investing abroad. We will also share with you guys on the global in real estate market outlooks and the updates for you to have a better understanding of investment in overseas. By end of this program, you will be discover that some of the countries' investment policy is not that difficult. In fact, it's actually very friendly and at a very minimum entry cost. Our program will run every day. 8 p.m. Malaysia time, GMT +8. For those who in different country wants to log in, please check out GMT +8 and mark your calendar because we will be ongoing this program every day. And we will feature in the Facebook Live at our IQI International Sales page. In this program, we actually invited quite a number of panel speakers, and majority of them are qualified professional real estate specialists, or even though a professional specialized in the industrial. And they are well versed with knowledge and experience, and which they will be able to give you some guidance to help you to invest abroad. Without further delays, I would like to invite today's one of our guest speaker, Mr. Desmond Ang from Global Migrations Solutions. Okay, he's actually a migrations consultant specialist. So today we will talk about something different, not so much on the property investment, but more on Australia migrations. So I'll pass the floor to Desmond. Anyone just log in? Can you just say hi to Desmond?
Hi, thank you, Mandy. And hi, everyone. Good evening. I believe all of you are safe and well at the comfort of your home. To a certain extent, the lockdown is crucial so that we can curb this pandemic together. And I would really encourage all of us to take some time for self-reflection and to look forward and make some plan for the future.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay, would you like to introduce yourself and your company as well?
Yes, like Mandy had just introduced me. I'm Desmond Ang. I'm a licensed immigration advisor for Australia for the last 15 years. And I founded this company called Global Migration Solutions in 2004 and based in Malaysia. Today, we have 4 offices across Asia Pacific in Singapore, Melbourne, Malaysia, as well as Vietnam.
Wow,
and
okay.
we advocate the right migration approach for our clients, our business partner like IQI, and ourselves and our brand.
Okay, that's great. So remember that those who join us today, if you have any question with regards to Australian migrations, feel free to ask any point of time and just write down your questions in the comment column, or we will try to pick up here and there, because normally it's like I have seen some of the questions that thrown to us is like towards the end of the days, we might not be able to answer you. So any point of time right now, if you have any question, you just feel free to jot it down in the comment column. We will pick up as fast as possible. All right, Desmond, how's the COVID-19, this pandemic, affecting the overall Australian migrations policies?
All right, well, I think this is a great question because there are many people out there confused and wrongly taken the travel ban as a suspension of the migration programs. And I'm here to assure you that Australia continue to process the migration application, and that's the needs of migrants continued. Yeah, and just for your information, this fiscal year, running from last year, July 2019 until June 2020, Australia set 160,000 number of the migrants. And
Wow.
Australia government is trying to achieve this number by end of this fiscal year.
Okay, so that doesn't seem that any problems that the application is still going on, right?
That's correct. Yeah, the travel ban is meant to curb the spreads of the viruses, and as far as the processing wise and accepting the application wise, this continues.
Okay, great. So can you just tell us a little bit how Australia governments are actually taking control of the COVID-19? I mean, especially at this time, this is probably one of the most concerns questions that people would love
Yeah.
to know.
Yes, I'm sure all of you out there, are very keen to know how the leader of each country, has done to protect the residents, to protect the people. And likewise for Australia being, one of the famous migration destination, and a lot of the people over the last 1 month, I have received tons of calls every day, finding out the latest information. As you know, Australia are surrounded with 3 oceans. Yes.
Yes.
So the governments know really, really well the most effective approach to stop the spreading of the viruses is to impose the travel bans.
Mm-hmm.
So on the 20th of March, first of all, the government had stopped all foreign traveler. If you are non-Australia PR or citizens, you are not supposed to travel to Australia. The ban was set on the 20th of March. And immediately on the 21st, or on the 25th of March, the government realized that to stop the front door and without stopping the back door, it is not going to help. So what happened was on the 25th of March, the government stops all PR and citizens from leaving the countries.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this to a certain extent, it has stopped the travel. The ban was very seriously imposed. Now, I think it is important for us to also look into the cases. As at today, there were 6,703 cases, infected cases in the entire Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And the great news is 5,387 cases were recovered. That left with only around 1,002 active cases.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And majority of them really were infected during 20th of March until the 10th of April. Mm-hmm. And since then, the cases are very well controlled until today.
Wow, that's great. But it's not like completely locked down in Australia, right? Unlike in Malaysia, right?
Yes, and I think in general, as you know, if you're listening from Australia or those has experienced living in Australia, in general, the people and the society are very well behaved. So everyone know to exercise to a certain extent the level of the responsibility. Like for example, if let's say they are aware that by traveling and having the social distancing is important, and most of the people would abide to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great to know. Okay, for those who just joined in or have logged in since 8 o'clock, if you wish to actually get a report from us, it's actually a report from GMS, from Desmond's, about the investments, types of investments in Australia. So please type the comment as report, so we will get our team to send the reports to you. Okay, just click report if you want to receive this report, and we will get our team to send it to you. All right, so again, welcome to our Key to Diversifications episode 7. Today we are talking about Australia migrations. Okay, next, what has the government done and support package to help the individual household? I know that a lot of people are actually affected, especially during this period of time.
Yeah. Well, I must admit that the Australian government has done a fantastic job. Well, first of all, without wasting time, they imposed the travel ban that we just discussed earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not sufficient. Immediately, the government look at all the support packages to help the community, whether you are a temporary residence visa holder or you are a permanent residence visa holder. To the certain extent, the support packages also extended to students,
Mm-hmm.
or those who is on work holiday visa, or those who is on the temporary employment visa holder. So there are various support packages available. Let me give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
So a fund was given to Red Cross to offer foods, medicines, and accommodation to temporary visa holder over the next 6 months. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So this is so important because in general, temporary residents or temporary visa holder, they do not have the access to the Medicare yet. Yeah. So without leaving them out, the government is going through Red Cross to provide these support packages to this group of people. Yeah. So if you are temporary residence visa holder, for example, if you are students or you are, a traveler back then, and if you suspected, infected with the coronavirus, you have the access to the testing and the treatments for free. So this is what the government has done. And if you look at the entire health packages, 2.4 billion was set aside to provide, the protect to the community during this COVID-19. Yeah. So
Wow.
another important support packages is this called job keeper payment.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are employed without losing the job, the government is actually funding the employer, the qualified employer, for 3,000 each of the employee per month. So 1,500 it will be given to each of the employer fortnightly, during these periods of times. And this is also going to go for the next 6 months until September. Yeah. And around 6 million of eligible employees is expected to receive this funding over 130 billion. Yeah. So
Wow.
a lot
Okay.
of packages, is a lot of money the government has set aside to help, to help the community.
Okay, that's great to know. Then what about as for the businesses? Share with us, how does the government actually deal with the stimulus package that are available to them?
Sure, sure. Well, I think no doubt the businesses in Australia is just like anywhere else. Many businesses are badly affected, and all the business owners are having a hard time to deal with the current situation.
Mm-hmm.
So in Australia, there's something called cash flow assistance. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this cash flow assistance will help to improve or to relieve the cash flow burden of the business owner during these periods of times. And the payment is ranging between 20,000 to 100,000. And this is going to be in a form of credit assistance. In Australia, when you run a business, every quarter you are submitting this thing called business activity statements.
Mm-hmm.
If there is any taxes that you need to pay on the quarterly basis, and this money is going to use towards crediting the amount of payment that you would need to pay to the inland revenue. So we call this
Right.
cash flow assistance.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So much support. So I don't think that the markets in Australia will be affected a lot because of all this
Yeah.
supportive government's assistance. Okay. As Australia is probably one of the world #1 destinations for high net worth individual, okay, especially I think a lot of Asians are actually prefer to migrate to Australia as well. Perhaps it's a closer to our Asian country as well. So share with us why.
Yeah. Yeah. Like what Mandy has said, Australia each year has you know has each year Australia has been the top #1 destination for high net worth individual. And last year it alone, there were around 12,000 high net worth individual has obtained the residency through Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, these comes with the reasons. Other than being closer to Asia gateway, there are a couple of reasons that why Australia has become number one among the migrants. Well, of course, we know Australia is known for the world-class education system,
Mm-hmm.
and the education system is known not just to develop or to train the student well academically, but the system is able to train the kids to be a street smarts. And I think this is one of the important reasons why the parents want the children to be educated in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Of course, the advanced healthcare, like what we have just mentioned, and one of the during this pandemic periods alone, the efforts from the government is a good proof to that. So when you obtain a residency in Australia, you have the access to the healthcare in Australia. In general, if you are going to doctor, go to pharmacies or the hospital, your medical bill is paid by the government. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to the housing wise, relatively as compared to many other cities like in the world, like London, New York,
Mm-hmm.
the housing in Australia generally is much more affordable. I would say that if you set aside a budget of 500,000 to 800,000, getting a house, a 3 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms and 2 bathroom landed property, not too far away from the city center, is reasonable.
Yep.
Right. And of course, multicultural in Australia is also important, because on the street, if you look at 10 of the people on the street, 7 of them would be a migrants alone itself.
Yes.
So as a new migrants, if you were to migrate to Australia, you won't feel alone, because it is very easy for you to get into the society. Yeah. Of course, the last reasons, but not the least, the work-life balance is also very important. Majority of the clients who has moved to Australia, whether they are single or they are with the family, they are with the kids, so they see a big difference between the lifestyle in Australia and the home country. So these are the good reasons why someone chose Australia.
I think overtime is not not in their dictionary. If you really work overtime, there'll probably be a problem already, right?
Yes, yes. I would just like to share, take this opportunity to share with all of you here. When I was working, I was working in Singapore before, I moved to Australia and work in Australia. So to stay past 7 o'clock is not something common. So you often the time you go back on time, and then, you have the rest of your evening to, for yourself and your family. Yes.
Yeah, otherwise people will look at you. What's wrong with
Okay.
you? Are you still working?
Yeah. So if you are working late, so the HR often the time will need to speak to you to find out whether or not you're experiencing some family issue, or you have any personal issue that that keep you stay late in the office. Yeah.
Yep. Of course, the other one that is actually very important to migrants is that because of the family, because of the kids as well, the education's side will be sponsored by the government as well. Therefore, it saves a lot for their kids' educations as well, right?
You're correct, Mandy. So in general, if the kids are in primary and secondary school, the school fee is totally free. So you're talking about, you're paying around 300 Aussie dollar if your kids is in the primary school. And you're paying about 1,000 to maximum of 1,500 a year if your kids is in the secondary school. And there's a lot more savings if your kids are ready to go to the tertiary education, the university. You generally are paying only 1/3 of the total fee in a year.
I think this is one of the main reasons that a lot of families would love to migrate to Australia. Part of it is because of this saving.
Yes. So I think it's a combination of the education, the healthcare system, the work-life balance, and that's why it makes Australia to become one of the world, destination, top world living destination. Yeah, so the states like Victoria States, Western Australia, Adelaide, and New South Wales has been nominated as the world top 10 most livable city.
Yep, that's great. Okay, for those who just joined in, welcome to our program, The Key to Diversification, episode 7. Today we are talking about Australia migration. So for those who wants to receive a free gift from us, it's actually a report from Desmond telling us how many types of investment program that is available for migrations. So if you wish to get this report, please comment report. We will get our team to contact you and send you the copy. All right. So what option does a business owner have to obtain a residential for their family? Because I understand that in Australia, there's two types. One is the skill migrations. The other one is business migrations. So let's just talk about business migrations right now. So what other options? I understand there's quite a few, right?
Yeah, so yes, correct. Well, I mean, in general, there are different pathways, but if we are talking about business and investment migration itself, the common one would be 4 different types. So we have the first one called subclass 188 business innovation. This is the visa that require the migrants to run a business in Australia after their visa is approved. Now, what I would like to highlight over here is Australia has such a highly regulated programs. In general, the government doesn't require you to invest or to start up a business before your visa programs is approved. So you generally are not risking your money or your investment before knowing that your visa is already approved by the government. And this is the visa programs called 188A, business innovation that require to run a programs as a business in Australia. If you have no intention to run a business in Australia, then you can consider the second option called 188B. These programs will require to invest 1.5 million into the government bond. And this is one of the very popular programs because this investment is risk-free. The capital is protected by the government, and you need to leave the money with the government for periods of 4 years, after which your money will be returned back to you. Yeah.
Okay. We are talking about 1.5 AUD, right?
Yes, 1.5 million of Aussie dollar. That's correct. And there's also 188C, significant investment visa. In short, we call SIV. This is a 5 million Aussie dollar investment. The catch here is under this investment programs, you are required to spend very little number of days in Australia every year. Effectively, we only need to spend 40 days in a year.
All right.
Yeah.
So compared to the normal one, is 2 out of 5, right?
2 out of the 4 years. So
4 years.
so effectively that works out to be around 6 months, in a year.
All right.
Yeah. So these are the these are the business pathway and the investment pathway.
Any other options?
Yeah. Well, if the options become very limited once someone past 45 years old. If they are below 45, then speak to us and I would be able to advise if perhaps skill migration could be an options for them, or they have family members. Here we are referring to immediate family members. Then they might be able to get a PR through a sponsorship by the children who are already a PR in Australia. So there are different types, in terms of how someone can get the PR in Australia.
Okay, remember, if you have any questions, please type your questions, so we will try to answer your questions later. All right. So, okay, if someone would love to move to Australia, okay, in the near future, so what is your advice on the processing timelines and the requirements?
Okay, a very good question. In fact, I think I've been telling my team it will be very 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 difficult to share with someone the idea of migrating at the moment, because when someone heard about migrating, it relates to travel, yeah. But we wouldn't want to lose the opportunity to educate people at this point of time, to let them know at least, you know, whether or not Australia remains as one of the country or continue to be the country that is going to be the preferred choice among all migrants. So in terms of the processing times, uh, in general, if you are submitting an application, it takes you 2 years to get an approval, because all this processing takes time. Yeah. So if you're asking me when is the right time, if you are eligible, you're applying now, in 2 years' time, you'll be ready to bring your families to Australia. By then, you know, we hope that the world is back to the normal. Yeah. And when is the right time? My answer has always been yesterday, because because the migration rules and regulation change from time to time.
Yep.
So yesterday has always been the best times to file in the application. Yeah.
Same goes to investment as well.
Yes. I believe, you know, I believe so. So I think the rule of thumb is, if you know your objective really well, and you know, and if we are all well equipped to make a decision, then that is the best times of, you know, doing it.
Yeah, I think compared to 10 years ago, people if they buy a properties, they can immediately get a PR. But I don't think this options is available right now already. So
That's
it's actually
correct.
getting tougher and tougher, even though they need to pass some of the English tests that whereby they require the passing mark slightly higher compared to those days, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, anyone have any questions to ask Desmond, because we are almost close to the end of our program. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask now. We will try to pick up your questions. Okay, so if anyone is interested, so how shall they contact you? How do they reach out for further consultation from you and advice
Sure,
as well? Yeah.
sure. Just all you need to do is just to remember our company name, and it is called Global Migration Solutions, Sandran Berhad. Go to our website and you'll be able to find our contact detail. Yeah. And for those who has a pen and paper with you, just take down this number: 6010 229 2114, and I repeat, 6010 229 2114. Alternatively, you may also contact us via IQI. So I think, Mandy, my summary or conclusion for this evening is, being a, you know, being a migration specialist for a period of 16 years, I've seen Australia consistently having a very solid foundation in terms of the policy, in terms of the investment opportunity, and don't rule out, you know, the possibility of investing Australia in the near future. And do take times during these lockdown periods to gather all the, you know, necessary information for you to be able to plan ahead for the future. Thank you.
That's great. So do you want to like just give us a summary of why people want to migrate to Australia? Just give us some key points.
Sure. Well, I think first of all, the distance is important. By having, you know, to fly just as short as 5 hours to Western Australia, or 8 hours to Victoria or New South Wales, that travel distance makes a big difference while you're thinking about spending one day or more than one day just to fly, you know, to another part of the world. And I think not only that, the not, you know, putting the other than the distance, the education system, the healthcare system, and the stability, work-life balance, and these are all the reasons why, you know, people are considering Australia. And once you obtain your permanent residency in Australia, and you have the same rights just as the Australian citizens. Yeah, you have the access to any benefits or any support that an Australian citizen has the access to. Being a permanent residency, you have the access to the same benefits. Yeah, so the PR for Australia is really valuable.
Okay, there's one question that coming in, is that I think different state have different investments criteria or different class as well, right? So
Yeah.
just now the one that you mentioned, is it applied to all the state or is different from
Sure.
each
It
state?
applies to all the state, but when, for example, let's use the 188B, the investor visa, for example. While you are required to invest 1.5 million, but in addition to that, different states do comes with slightly different requirements. Yeah. For example, certain states might require you to bring in an additional funding of 200,000 for additional investment, and certain states doesn't require to do so. Yeah. So there is a requirements at the federal level that applies across the board, regardless of anywhere, no matter where you're going to. But there's also requirements at the state's government level, and that's going to be individual and slightly different depending on where you're moving to.
Okay, another question was asking is like, if it's through skill migrations, how to go about it?
Right. So the effective way is to contact us and send in your resume, and we will need to assess and see if you meet the point test. We need to assess to see if your qualification is recognized as comparable to the Australian standards. We need to check whether or not you have the relevant skill job. Yeah. So the first thing is to contact our office with the number given to you. Again, 010-229-2114. All you need to do is just to ring up this support hotline at the moment, and our team will advise you on the next step.
All right. And the other one is, I understand that you have an event, webinar tomorrow. So would you want to
Yes.
introduce this webinar to the audience as well?
Sure. So the webinar tomorrow is really, really interesting, and we are expecting to have such a big crowd participating. There are two speakers, so I will speak in more detail with regards to the COVID and the economic stimulus packages introduced by the federal government. And we have a special guest speaker from Queensland State's government. They are going to talk about at the states level, what have they done? What is it that they have done so successfully to curb the control, of the COVID? And they are going to give an updates on the upcoming programs, because these programs here is ending June, and the new fiscal year is starting in July. So you might wanted to join us and make contact through IQI. All you need to do is just to make contact with the IQI, register through IQI, and then you'll be getting the login detail from us.
Okay, for those who wish to join the webinar tomorrow, can you just comment join? Then our team will actually contact you to get your detail and will send you the link. Remember, if you wish to join the webinar tomorrow, please comment join, then we will get our team to contact you. Okay, one question from James. I'm a resident. How do I bring both my parents, retired, and both sister of pharmacist and a designer to Australia?
All right. Okay. Well, James, if you're in Australia, I wish you well, you and your family well. And likewise, I hope all your parents and your sister are well, regardless of where they are. Now, your parents, please look into the parents' visa. If your parents might be able to explore this visa pathway, if you have half or more of your brother and sister already residing in Australia as a PR, then one of you would be eligible to sponsor or to take your parents over to Australia and help them to obtain the PR in Australia. If you do not have half or majority of your siblings already residing in Australia as a PR or citizen, then you might be able to look into those short terms of temporary parents visa that was introduced last year or the year before, where your parents are given a period of 5 years or up to 10 years to reside in Australia temporarily with you. Yeah. As for both your sister, they are considered as a unit of a family member themselves. Yeah. And we would need to explore or assess them to see if they could meet, the general skill migration requirements. As you mentioned, they are interior designer, and another one is pharmacist. Yes. So do ask them to contact us, and we will advise them. Yeah, we will need to assess their backgrounds, their qualification backgrounds. We will need to assess them. We will need to assess their working experience ever since they completed their tertiary education. So there's a lot of information that we need to look into before we can advise them. Thank you.
All right. I hope that Desmond have actually answered your questions. Okay, he will contact you. All right, so for those who want to have the reports, remember we are giving out a report. So please comment report, so we'll get our team to contact you and send it to you. And for those who wanted to join the webinar tomorrow, what time is the webinar tomorrow?
The webinar is starting at 11 in the morning.
So it's 11 Malaysia time.
Yes, 11 Malaysia time. That's correct.
So remember, just click join, then we'll get our team to contact you, so to send you the link and get you registered as well. All right. So we come to the end of our program. Remember, our program is the key to diversifications, and tomorrow same time 8 p.m. Malaysia time or GMT +8, we have another speakers that coming in. Tomorrow we'll share about Vietnam markets. All right, so for those who is interested to know how to invest in Vietnam, please mark your calendar and log in tomorrow same time 8 p.m. Thanks for joining us for this program. And thank you very much, Desmond, for sharing your insights of the Australian migrations in terms of the criteria and the current status in Australia. So I wish you all the best and take care. Good night. And good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone, and stay safe. And thank you, Mandy.
Yep. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.